We're surrounded by concrete. It's literally everywhere. It's the foundation of our homes, the bones of our offices, the very fabric of our cities. But what's holding it all together? Well, there's this invisible science, a kind of hidden code that turns this simple gray stuff into the backbone of our entire modern world. And a huge part of that code is something you've probably seen 1,000 times without giving it a second thought.
Yeah, I'm talking about this. You've seen it at every single construction site. This complex web of steel bars that looks like the skeleton of some giant metal creature. Is it just there to, hold the shape while the concrete dries, or is it doing something way, way more important?
To really get what that steel skeleton is for, we have to talk about concrete itself. Because for all of its incredible strength, concrete has one critical, you could even say fatal, flaw.
Now, don't get me wrong, concrete is an absolute superstar material. When it comes to something called compressive strength, that is, being squished or squeezed, it's a total tank. You can stack unbelievable amounts of weight on it, and it just doesn't care.
But here's the catch. While it's a hero in compression, it's a complete weakling when it comes to tension. If you try to stretch or bend concrete, it fails, and it fails fast. The best way to think about it is like a cracker, right? You can stand on it, no problem, but try to bend it, it snaps, instantly. That is concrete's kryptonite.
So how in the world do we build massive bridges and skyscrapers with a material that snaps like a cracker? Well, it's simple. We give it a partner. And it turns out to be the perfect partner.
And that partner is reinforcing steel, what we all call rebar. See, steel is the exact opposite of concrete. It is incredibly strong in tension. You can stretch it and pull it, and it just holds on. It acts like the tendons in our body, giving flexible strength, where concrete's just brittle. Put them together, and you get this amazing composite material that's strong in both compression and tension.
But not all rebar is created equal. I mean, standard mild steel is good, but what's even better is high-strength deformed steel. It offers more strength and, just as important, a much, much better grip on the concrete.
Okay, that word deformed might sound a little weird. It doesn't mean the bar is bent or messed up. It just means it has these ribs and ridges purposely rolled right onto its surface. And trust me, these are not for decoration. They're engineered to act like the tread on a tire, locking the steel and concrete together so they absolutely cannot slip. That grip is everything. It's what lets them work as a team.
So we've got our power couple, concrete and steel. But just having them in the same place isn't enough. To make the magic happen, they have to follow a very strict set of rules. You can't just toss some rebar into a concrete pour and call it a day. The placement, the spacing, the bends, it's all a precise science called detailing. Every single one of those bars has a very specific job to do in a very specific place.
And this isn't some minor detail either. A foundational engineering handbook says it all. Detailing is where the blueprint becomes a safe, functional reality. A building's real strength isn't just in the materials themselves, but in how those materials are detailed and put together.
So that begs the question, right? What are the most important rules in this hidden code? What does every single builder and engineer absolutely have to get right? Well, it turns out we can boil it down to 3 golden rules.
Yep, it really comes down to 3 golden rules of reinforcement. If you can get your head around these 3 ideas, you'll basically understand the secret language that makes our buildings stand up straight and strong. So, rule number 1. This one is maybe the most fundamental of all, and it's all about protection.
Rule number 1 is, give it space. In engineering, they call this concrete cover. It's simply the required thickness of concrete that has to be between the steel rebar and the outside world. And this isn't just wasted space, it's an absolutely essential protective shield.
So why is this shield so critical? Well, there are 3 huge reasons. First, it stops the steel from rusting. Steel's big weakness is corrosion, and concrete is an amazing barrier against moisture. Second, it insulates the steel from fire. Bare steel loses its strength super fast in a fire, but that concrete shield buys precious time. And finally, it protects the rebar from salts and nasty chemicals that could attack and weaken it over time.
All right, on to the second rule. This one is all about making sure the steel can actually do its job without slipping.
Rule number 2, get a good grip. It's not enough for the steel to just be in the concrete. It has to be anchored in so deeply that it can't get pulled out when the building starts to experience real forces.
The technical term for this is development length. A good way to think about it is like trying to tie a knot in a piece of string. If the tail end is too short, the knot just pulls right through, right?
Well, development length is the minimum tail end that a piece of rebar needs inside the concrete to hold on tight and use its full, incredible tensile strength.
And that brings us to the final golden rule. This one answers a very practical question. What do you do when you run out of rebar?
Rule number 3 is pass the baton. See, steel rebar comes in standard lengths, like 20 or 40 feet. To build anything big, you obviously have to join pieces together. This is called splicing, and it's basically a relay race for structural forces.
The most common way to do this is called a lap splice, and you can see exactly how it works here. When one bar is about to end, a new bar is laid right next to it. They have to overlap for a very specific, carefully calculated distance. That overlap is the magic. It allows the pulling force to flow seamlessly from the first bar, through the concrete around them, and into the second bar. It's just like passing a baton in a relay. The race keeps going without missing a beat.
Cover, grip, and splicing. Okay, these might just sound like technical details, but I'm telling you, getting them right is the difference between a building that lasts for a century and one that fails disastrously.
So, let's just quickly recap this whole hidden code. 1. Concrete's superpower is compression, its kryptonite is tension. 2. Steel rebar is the perfect partner to handle that tension. 3. Detailing is the all-important science of how and where you place that steel. And finally, the 3 golden rules, cover for protection, grip for anchoring, and splicing for continuity are the absolute bedrock of it all. You see, this hidden code isn't just some boring manual for engineers. It's the silent, invisible language of safety and resilience. It's written in steel and concrete, and it's what keeps our world standing strong around us every single day.
So here's a thought for you. The next time you step into a high-rise, or you cross a bridge, or even just walk through a parking garage, take a sec, will ya? Think about that hidden steel skeleton inside and the silent, brilliant code that's holding everything together.